President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Please sit down. Welcome to the State Department, to the Ben Franklin Room, where we are so honored to be hosting President Aquino and the Philippine delegation and celebrating the enduring friendship between our two countries. Together, the United States and the Philippines are writing a new chapter in our storied alliance and building a multifaceted relationship for the 21st century. Our trade and economic linkages continue to deepen through initiatives like the Partnership for Growth. And just a few minutes ago, Secretary del Rosario and I signed a new agreement that will spur joint efforts on science and technology. Because when our scientists share their ideas and their resources, not only do our two countries, but the world reaps the benefits. And we are also increasing the number of United States Peace Corps volunteers in the Philippines. Last year, I celebrated the 60th anniversary of the Mutual Defense Treaty in Manila, and Secretary Pineda and I co-hosted our counterparts for the first time ever last April. Our special forces have been working side by side with their Filipino counterparts. We are also working closely together to increase information and intelligence exchanges and coordination on maritime domain issues. And in this context, I'm pleased to announce today that the United States will support the construction, outfitting, and training of a new National Coast Watch Center in the Philippines. As allies, our two nations consult on important regional issues, as we have done regarding our respective diplomacy in the South China Sea. As I've said many times, the United States does not take a position on the competing territorial claims in the South China Sea, but we do, however, have a clear interest in the maintenance of peace and stability, freedom of navigation, respect for international law, and unimpeded lawful commerce in the South China Sea. In this context, we welcome the initial steps to diffuse tensions surrounding the Scarborough Reef taken by President Aquino, and we encourage continued diplomatic dialogue and further efforts to lessen tension, to disengage, and to resolve the situation peacefully. The United States has been consistent in that we oppose the use of force or coercion by any claimant to advance its claims, and we will continue to monitor the situation closely. We also call on ASEAN and China to conclude their efforts to reach consensus on a code of conduct for the South China Sea. Now, President Aquino first came to the United States over 30 years ago to seek asylum with his family as political turmoil ravaged his country. Today, I welcome him here to reaffirm our shared future based on mutual respect and interests, our common democratic values, new partnerships, and the bonds between our peoples. I think, Mr. President, you can see from just looking out here that we have quite a few Filipino-Americans here today, and indeed, if we'd had a room twice or three times as big, you'd see even more Filipino-Americans, because this is a time not only to celebrate the friendship between our nations, but it is also a time to recognize the many contributions of Filipino-Americans to our nation. And the gratitude we have that Filipino culture, family ties, and connections have enriched the United States so much. So please join me in a toast to the President and to the people of the Philippines and to the partnership and friendship between the United States and the Philippines.
Cheers.
Cheers, Mr. President.
Allow me to thank you, Secretary Clinton, for the very warm welcome and your gracious hospitality. Secretary Clinton has enjoyed a most distinguished tenure as Secretary of State, and I would like to extend our warmest congratulations for the very active and progressive diplomacy that has characterized the State Department under her leadership. She understands and appreciates Asia's role in the future global order, and this has guided the U.S.'s efforts at rebalancing. This in turn has opened up new opportunities to deepen the engagement between the United States and our region. Secretary Clinton has also made it a point to pursue economic diplomacy, and unsurprisingly, we have seen the State Department become an active contributor in the ongoing economic recovery here in the United States. Last year, Secretary Clinton paid a visit to Manila, where we celebrated the 60th anniversary of the Mutual Defense Treaty. Along with our Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert del Rosario, she signed the Manila Declaration, reaffirming the historic friendship and partnership between our two nations. We also launched the Partnership for Growth program, which aims to support our administration's goal of achieving broad-based economic growth, or as we call it, inclusive growth, growth that leaves no one behind. The 7 months that have gone by since that visit have seen us undertake a series of purposeful and diverse engagements. After President Obama and I went through some substantive discussions in Bali last November, our senior officials have been working to move these agreements forward. They met here in January of 2012, and our Foreign Affairs and Defense Secretaries paid another visit to the United States just in April. When I was reading the report submitted to me about what exactly happened, I was struck by the character of the discussions, as well as the breadth of the subjects that we are working on together. We are clearly at a new junction in our relations. While we both remain grounded in our shared history and in the democratic principles and values we both uphold, our success is also about what we can do together to build a more stable region and to achieve an even more prosperous future for both our peoples. That we are here now signifies our desire to further accelerate the achievement of these goals. I see a very rewarding future ahead of us as we work on the different elements that comprise our partnership, such as our ties in defense and security, in our economies, and amongst our peoples. Indeed, there is much reason to celebrate this enduring kinship and alliance, and to this may I propose a toast. To the Secretary and the Corps of dedicated Filipino and American professionals who have worked persistently for the enhancement of our relations. May we be able to sustain the momentum we have generated and further deepen the bonds of friendship and cooperation between the Philippines and the United States. May we continue to stand shoulder to shoulder as partners committed to each other's security and prosperity, and invested in building a stable and peaceful region for future generations of Filipinos and Americans. And may we, together with all Filipinos and Americans, soon reap the fruits of our efforts to strengthen the relationship between our countries. Madam Secretary, cheers. Thank you, ma'am.
Cheers. Thank you.